S-Lighty on the mic. Got a story for you of two lighties who collided, making dreams come true. Now we're creating a new journey, and we want to bring you, cause it ain't all about us, it's all about you too. We'll be repping while we step in lifestyle, culture and bants. And for this road, trust me, we had to put on bigger pants. So tune in and show love so we can love you right back. Hope you already got that loving in this fleeky intro track. When madness steals you away, we're gonna bring you right back. Now here's two lighties coming through. Get your popcorn, cause we've got you. Good morning, Lighty P.
Good morning.
We are gonna have a chat today.
What we're going to talk about is later.
I think we should talk about a subject we've been speaking a bit about lately, which is quite a very important one, I should say. And I'll just shorten it down to illness and blackness. So yeah, I think it's a big one with the illness that we've been through.
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be covered all the time in different ways, because there's just so much things that you face around it, and it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And we have a lot of battles, more battles than other people to get through that stuff. So yeah, I think it's something that needs to be talked about. So I know that you have felt it very strongly. So do you want to kick off? And
they say the beauty of hindsight, don't they? And I don't know whether there's much beauty in reflecting on these moments, but for me, I think when I think about my illness and the disease we went through, it goes right to pre-diagnosis for me.
Okay.
My journey to getting diagnosis was a very long one. It was a very painful one in terms of my actual symptoms, but painful in terms of mentally and emotionally what the length of time did to me. And I think reflection here is quite ideal for me, because I can actually see where the colour of my skin probably did impact the length of time it took for me to be diagnosed.
Why would you say that in particular? What's something that really stands out that leads you to think that and feel that?
The lack of belief.
Wow.
The lack of belief of my symptoms, first of all, not being taken seriously, but actually being told the symptoms were in my head. I think they were two big things, but as well, I think going into the doctor's surgery and feeling like you're not believed is one thing, but being not believed because of you're looking well. And I know this is something that we get all the time still.
Yeah.
But what do you mean? You look great. You look well. Are you sure? Are you sure that you're experiencing all the symptoms that you're telling me about right now? And I think
I've had that a few times.
Yeah.
A few too many.
It's like we've spoken about this, like what do we need to look like? Do we need to look on death's door? And it's really difficult to think back now to, you know, the mental and emotional turmoil that I actually went through, because I would repeatedly go to the doctor's surgery and say, like, this is how I'm feeling, I'm in excruciating pain, I've got growing symptoms, this and that, and to be told, well, I'm sure it'll go, a bit misdiagnosed and all of that. But
and I think for us it's kind of that thing of we're trying to look well for ourselves. I think people don't get that. Like, I've even been told, oh, I'm looking well for other people, and I'm like, no, this is for me to look well and feel well. And I know we're quite similar, and it's something where we probably did the same kind of thing, and it's what we do. But just so people know, how many times did you go to the doctors before you were actually diagnosed? Every time you say it, it just hits me like harder.
There was 55 different interactions, whether it was going to the doctor's surgery, phone calls, follow-on referrals, and you know, I had a very complicated cancer. I had lymphoma, a blood cancer, which unfortunately progressed to stage 4 by the time I was diagnosed. And you know, there's a lot of miseducation around that particular blood cancer, but you know, it's hard not to really consider that, the colour of my skin, am I looking well, and how young I was, all fed into the prolonged diagnosis, and then how aggressive it was towards the end.
Yeah, and the fact that you could have died.
Yeah.
You could have not been here. Like, I'm just going to say it because it is that. And, you know, it's from what I know about your story, it's your strength, your drive, your determination, that mindset, and the things you were doing to try and, even though you didn't know what was wrong with your body, you were trying to keep it so healthy, you were trying so many different things, and I believe that kept you alive. You know, from what I know of your story, that's what I feel like, those are the things that kept you alive to that point. But if they hadn't diagnosed you, like, it's just scary to even think about what would have happened. Like, you wouldn't be sitting here today.
No, I definitely wouldn't have. Going back to my original point of the whole idea of beauty of hindsight, I think you're so good at this, advocating for yourself in the moment, and I think it's really difficult because even though you can go into a doctor's surgery or an appointment and you're so sure of what your body's going through, and I think, again, I got to a point where I knew my body quite well, a doctor would then say there's nothing wrong with you, or you look really well though, and all of a sudden you kind of leave and you're questioning whether you do feel that way. And
that questioning, and that going through what you're going through with your body physically, and then mentally wondering what's going on with you, and then someone telling you there's nothing wrong with you, and then you sitting there having this conversation with yourself of, have I been misdiagnosed? Because I've sat and had that conversation and then gone on my phone and said, you know, and the only reason I knew I hadn't been is because I had this massive tumour that was bursting out of like my body. And I was like, well, if it wasn't for that, I think I would have just thought, you know what, I'm just going home because they keep saying there's nothing wrong with me. They've done all these tests and there's nothing wrong. But, you know, this is the thing, there's the misdiagnosis, and then you're being made to feel like you're doing too much, or you're wasting someone's time, or you're asking too many questions. And, you know, to me, where you said about me advocating, I'm just like, this is your body, this is your life. And, you know, we put a lot of women, and all of us, we put our life into a doctor's hands fully, and I'm just not cool with that. I'm just not. I never have been. Hadn't been to the doctors for 14 years before this, and you know, I'm in control of my life. Every person, you're responsible for you, you know, to a certain extent. Obviously, when our body gets sick, we need help. There's certain things we can't do. You know, we can do lots of things to try and keep it healthy. We can do lots of things to keep our mental good, but there's some times where it's like we need help, we need expertise to get there, and you have to go to the doctor for that. But putting my whole life in a doctor's hands, I just would never feel comfortable with that. And that's why I'd ask so many questions, and I didn't feel a way going in with my book. And like, you know, my oncologist knew I was coming with the book. He'd be like, have you got any questions? And smile. He knew the book was coming with the questions, and they all had to be answered for it to make sense.
I love this point though about advocating for yourself, because I know people have come to you and said, I didn't know I could ask that question.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, can you actually give any tips on that, on advocating for yourself in those situations? I think questions is a big one, because I think it's easy to go into those consultations or those big appointments and be like, what are they going to tell me? And I think you can be that caught up with that, you've not actually thought about anything yourself or what you personally want for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have any other tips?
Definitely, I would say write your questions down before you go in. Think about what you want from the appointment. This appointment's about you. It's not for the doctor, it's for you. It's about, yes, how they're going to treat you and how you're going to get through this, but what do you want? What do you need to feel better in your mind? What do you need to know? What do you need to understand about this treatment and what's going to happen? Like, all the things that are important to you, you need to be able to ask the doctor that. Why shouldn't you ask the doctor that? Why should you feel like you can't ask those things? And the doctor is a really good person to answer those questions. So I would say get your book and write your questions in it, and don't feel a way to go in with it, and let them know, you know, I do have some questions I'd like to ask. I would like them all to be answered if you don't mind, and just ask nicely and set it up so they know the questions are coming.
Yeah.
So definitely that, and just don't feel a way about it. Even if you have 20 questions and you need them all answered, you know, and if someone's making you feel a bit uncomfortable, I just say, oh, I just have a few more, you know, sorry, but I do need to get through these, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, because I know the appointments are short and stuff, but you need to go away feeling some sort of comfort with what's going on, because these treatments are, they hurt. Yeah, it just takes my breath away, like, to try and even explain them. But you have to go in and feel that you can get your questions answered. Another thing is do your research. You know, you can do your own research, and I don't know why anybody wouldn't. I mean, I know I'm a bit over the top, and I researched day and night, but for me, that's what I needed to do. And I'm not saying that's the right way, because it can drive you mad, and there's so much information out there, and I can see why people would shy away from it. But do some research on your cancer in particular, because, you know, there's so many different types that are out there, and all of them are driven differently. Like, if you've got a hormone positive one, you have to be very careful around hormones, for example, whereas if you don't, that's not necessarily something that comes into play. So do find out what your cancer is and research that specifically, the drugs for that, the treatments for that, all that kind of thing. And read books as well. There are lots of books out there that can help you along the way that other people have written about their journeys.
On the point of research, though, I think that does feed into advocating for yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like another level of advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think if we go back to like the whole idea of being treated differently within our experience of cancer and any illness when it comes to the colour of our skin.
Yeah.
I can think of an experience of, I was having particular dark marks appear on my skin when I was going through the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And this is a symptom that I went to my consultant with, and it was question marks. They weren't sure of what was going on.
Right.
And they advised that I maybe had banged myself, and my skin was...
Wow, and you didn't know that you bumped yourself. Wow.
My skin was sensitive. And I think, you know, I don't think that's incorrect. I think my skin was more sensitive, but the way that my skin was reacting to the chemotherapy in particular was something that they wasn't aware of, because the education around black skin, particularly when you are going through chemotherapy, was, you know, there was a gap there. There wasn't any knowledge of that. So this is where, for me, I had to advocate for myself in those situations and do additional research and not just take the information that I'd been given as total fact and think, actually, there's some missing gaps here. And I think, you know, you make such a good point there of advocating for yourself. And again, it's something that, you know, to me now, where I'm more confident in those situations, I am like, of course I'm going to advocate for myself. But I think going back a few years ago, I was trying my best, but when you keep on being told, you're fine, it's hard for those comments not to get in your mind, and then to feel like a bit of a nuisance, which I know I've said before, because
I've heard lots of women say this. They feel like they're being a nuisance, and they're made to feel like they're being a nuisance, and that's the most horrible thing.
Have you ever had experiences during treatment or during this whole experience where you've thought the colour of your skin has impacted?
Did I feel like I was treated differently because of my colour? Yes, because when I really started to push back, I think it was just seen that, oh, you're being too stubborn for your own good. And it felt a bit like it came in culturally, and things changed a bit. And it was almost like, oh, okay, you know, this is expected now. And it was sort of like I think there was one time when I spoke up, and I think it was a bit of angry black women, because I'd always gone in, you know, my nature's quite chill, sweet. And then there was a time where I was like, I didn't kick off, but, you know, something was said to me and I was just like, no, that's not right, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, oh, you know, and I felt it was a bit like angry black woman at that stage. And also, I do feel like when I was trying to explain why I wasn't doing certain things, there was a bit of you know, I could feel that there was a cultural difference, as in, is this just a stubbornness? There was a butting heads there. You know, when I was not taking treatment at the beginning because I wanted to try a holistic route, I was told, don't come back in a wheelchair. If anyone else tells you any other way to do this, they need their head tested. You're gonna die. There were lots of things that were kind of said, and I do feel at one stage there was this kind of like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, like, you know, and I never went in, even with all the research I did and all the stuff that I knew that I'd found out and could battle against them with, it wasn't to go in and battle against them. And I think this is quite important to say. It's about aligning and trying to agree on things, but then also understanding that if you're saying no, and us understanding that we can say no to something, that no is no, and you can do things when you're ready to do them and not be forced into signing this piece of paper, you know, and not feeling right about it, but just feeling like you have to do it because you're going to die. And it's hard because I do feel like the oncologist, with their knowledge and what they know, what they're giving to you on that paper, as far as they're concerned, it is the right thing for you. Yeah. But you in yourself have to know as a person and really think about it, you know, is there anything that I want to talk about or question in here? And if there is, then do it.
Big topic this, because it's so unspoken about.
Yeah.
And I think when it actually comes to, was we treated differently because of the colour of our skin, a big part of it is gut feel and how we're made to feel. I think that is a big thing. And another thing which I know we've both had in different settings is kind of a bit of isolation because of how we feel. So a major example for me, and I recently had this when I went for a checkup, is I never see anyone that looks like me. There's no one who has the same colour of skin. That was my experience going through treatment because I was in the hospital on a very, very regular basis.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite put my finger on it at first. I was like, no, I just need to shake it off. Is it because I'm young? Is it because the colour of my skin? I just need to get through this and get it done and, you know, come out the other end. And I think then when
it was your truth.
It was my truth, yeah. Then when I came out of treatment, I couldn't shake this feeling of still feeling isolated. And again, I tried to figure out whether it was because, you know, I was coming out the other end of a very isolating diagnosis of having cancer, but it did run a little bit deeper for me, and I really was able to understand what it was when I went to a local support group, because again, there was no one that looked like me. Everyone stopped and stared, and they had been throughout my whole experience at the hospital.
A lot of staring, like, why are you, does it feel a bit like, why are you here?
Why are you
sort
here?
Of thing, because of your age, maybe colour.
Yeah.
And you just, just like, what are you doing here, sort of thing. I've had that a lot, and I've also felt the same as you. When you walk into the room, you're like, no one looks like me. I don't know whether it was my area or what it was, but I just felt like everyone was a lot older. It wasn't just my area, because I remember when I got stuck up north, it was the same. I'd walk in the room and I just feel like I don't belong here. And I'm just going to say it, that's what it was. And I felt bad saying it, because I'm like, everyone's here for this same reason, but I was just like, I don't belong here, and it's just weird, you can't explain it.
No,
so I feel you on that.
Yeah, it is really hard to articulate as well, and I think if you don't have that feeling of belonging, that, you know, it's not a feeling that you can just shake off. It stays with you. And I think once you've been through something like we've been through, it doesn't just go when the treatment ends or when you have a, you know, a positive scan or a clear scan. It's, you know, it stays with you. And for me, that feeling only really went when I did find a supportive group.
The groups are so important.
And the group that we met at, the group that I've met other very good friends at, and it's again, like I will say, the beauty of hindsight, because thankfully I did have that self-awareness when I got to the end of treatment, and I tried to find my tribe, because it sends a shiver up me, to be fair, of how lost I still would have been if I didn't find that support group and find you and find
Yeah.
other people in my life. Like it's
I feel like that too. That's actually making. Might need to cut here.
yeah.